stream either.
Hey, rain stop
It is
in
or is
15
not?
minutes. Check the map for tracking.
It is or is not live?
Really? Is it live, Russ?
I didn't put it live because I don't know what's going on with the live stream.
Okay, so we're recording.
So I'll upload it tomorrow morning.
So we are recording now?
You are recording.
Okay.
Hopefully.
All right. Time is now 6:43, now that we've gotten our recording and streaming situation sorted out a bit. Looks like that was interesting from the power outage back in the new year. So, we will open as we normally do, with Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First roll call, Dave Hemingway, Chair of Select Board.
Marlo Herrick. Nobody Blake.
And for announcements, do we have anyone that wants to make an announcement? I guess not. So in that case.
We should say Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes, Happy New Year to everybody. And I will need help for some of the positions, I'm sure, because I don't have them in front of me. But keep in mind that at some point during January is the time to register if you want to be an elected official. And I know this is the end of my term, so that would be my position. The town clerk position will be up. There's usually a cemetery trustee and a trustee of trust funds. What am I missing?
Tax collector, treasurer.
Tax collector and treasurer are both this year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Library trustees, supervisor of the checklist, cemetery trustee. Are there two trustee of trust fund
Well,
positions, Dana?
It
No,
depends,
there's
right?
just-
Isn't that the one that if they appoint someone before?
So there's just the one trustee.
I
of
think
trust.
there's just one.
Okay. So if you're interested in any of those positions, please make sure you come on in and get that taken care of when you can.
Will that be on the website?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
I know it was at least in the clerk's newsletter.
Yeah.
It was in the grapevine too.
It's gonna be in the
We'll put it on
Yes,
the
it is.
website.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Where will we do that?
front page and everything.
Does anybody else have any announcements to make?
Well, congratulations, Steve,
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
and your wife, and your daughter.
Well, that moves us on to old business then, which is review of department ARPA suggestions.
Yeah, I know, I didn't put that in, but they're here anyway.
All right.
At the meeting that we had on the 29th of December, the discussion came up regarding the ARPA funds.
Mhm.
And I had given you suggestions November 7th, and we still have the same suggestions. So I guess we're looking for some guidance from the board. On the list for the ARPA suggestions, the door replacement at the town office, you've already approved that one.
Okay. I believe we had the question of whether that was the best choice for the sign for the public safety building, or whether it was, not enough versus the previous stuff that was much more expensive, or so I just want to make sure that if there is something of that nature, that it is definitely the right thing that
The
we want to have.
previous one is almost twice the cost.
Mhm.
I hate to spend that kind of money, and I don't
Agreed.
know, I don't know how much, it's definitely a better one, because it's got better pixels, and, but I've been looking at the one at Merrimack County constantly, and I go by there all the time. And it's bright, it's not monstrous, it's small enough, and we don't want a great big huge one out there. And we can they can change it from here, we can change it from your cell phones, and it's pretty, it does good pictures. I mean, it's not, we don't need one that's gonna cost us
Speaking
$40,000.
of bright,
And it
is
has a
light-
dim factor on it too, so.
Okay, that's what I was gonna
Yeah,
ask.
it automatically dims depending on the light, you know, how much light's outside.
Okay,
And we can adjust the dimness, we can have it go even lower if we want to.
all right. And I believe when we were talking about it last, we mentioned that, while not required, it should go through the planning board process. Because they normally deal with like signs for commercial stuff, et cetera.
We had
So-
discussed that, and I think it's a good idea. We haven't done that, just waiting to see if we would
We
work.
haven't had a planning board meeting since then.
Well, then that worked
Okay.
out, didn't it?
So that leaves some of the other items, which are the carpet to inlay flooring for the police department, seal coating the driveway up at the safety building, and the trailer for cold water reserve are the other ones that are listed on here. Do we have Emmett? I think we had you talk about it a little bit last time.
Correct. The
So-
main goal of the trailer is for the cascade, to set up the cascade and command post, and then add the cold water rescue stuff to that. I mean, the other day, we had the dog rescue, the dog in the ice. We left with the ambulance with the cold water suits in there. Life preservers are in the boat. You can't pull the boat with the ambulance, so the next crew was grabbing the boat with the forestry.
And didn't have the cold
Didn't
suits.
have all our stuff together.
How much of an estimate versus a quote is the number that we have?
Well, in the spring, almost a year ago, it was 12 grand. That, we had to get the extra tall trailer so you can stand up in it, so when you're working in it, you're not
Right.
bent over. So that added some cost. I think it's 12 feet, 12 by 6. It's not
So-
huge.
So we shouldn't be too surprised if it's a bit more expensive now, compared to the beginning of last year. Any thoughts from the board on any of these items, and what you want to either approve or have more information for?
They're all good ideas.
I have all the literature, I've got all the literature at the fire station for the trailer, and we can drop that off if you wanna see it, but it's an enclosed trailer. The back door lays down, and it does have a side door in the front, so you can get in and out of there without putting the gate down all the time.
It's nice to be tall, because I could hate to see you bending over all the time when you're trying to work in there.
Well, you get somebody that's.
Yeah, really tall.
Emery's what, 6'4", and we got some tall people, and
Well, and look at, we'll all be happy that he's got it when you're falling through the ice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably just not personally one to wanna spend a lot of money on a sign. That's my own, I mean, I get it, but I mean,
So.
you got a light on the sign, unless there's something, tell me what I'm missing to what makes that important? I'm sure messages and different things.
That's the main thing, is for messages. I mean, we can put a standard sign up there with just a light on it, that tells what we are.
Right,
But this town hall you can post the selectmen's meetings on there, you can do everything on there. And it just scrolls, so you could scroll selectmen's meetings and whatever other meetings you wanna have. You can, school closings,
Bridge
hours for the
closed.
town clerks, or whatever.
Roads are posted, et cetera.
Roads are posted, a number of things that you can put.
right.
Looking
right.
for employees.
I think it's a good idea. I'm a PR person, so I think that's the best
School
thing,
closings.
something like that. I mean, it's a one-time expense, but it'll probably last for 20 years.
I think it was a 20-year warranty on it.
Oh, is it? Well, that's a good year.
And the pixels on it, they're nice because they're in square boards. You can take the boards out and replace them.
Oh, okay.
I know the one we were looking at was $40,000, and we almost choked when we saw the price of that. Yeah, no.
So it sounds like that with the exception of maybe the sign, is everybody ready to sign off on stuff? Or are there other questions on these other items?
I mean, I'm not hung up on it, and plus I suppose there's nothing.
Well, and we
I
wanted
guess
to
a
go
good
through
thing,
that process.
let me contact the sign company, have them come in and they do a demo for you.
Well, I think more than the demo, it's that we wanted it to go through
Planning
the
board.
process with the
Yeah.
planning board and everything, and I'm sure, well, I shouldn't say that, but, maybe they would like a demonstration of it too, and so that could be a thing that, everybody gets together and sees it. But normally for like commercial exceptions and stuff, when a sign is done, it's planning board. And again, it's different because we're municipal, but be nice to get their input and make sure that it's as
Absolutely.
appropriate as possible.
You want it the same as everybody else.
Mhm.
But to answer your question, yes.
Okay. How about with you?
Yeah.
Okay, so do we need a motion for this, or is it, because it's all POs and ARPA funding, is it go do it and then we approve it when it comes?
We can do purchase orders that you would have to sign before, so I guess you don't really need a motion if you would like to do it that way. But remind me again what we're doing with the sign.
The sign would be to go through it would be to take it through the
You'd like it to
normal
go through the
planning board.
planning board process and see what happens from
We
that?
can do that at the upcoming meeting.
Okay.
Well, I think it's something it's gonna guarantee for 20 years. That's $1,000 a year. That's pretty cheap, really, considering where it's setting. People go by all the time. I mean, I bet you could spend that much in like the Concord Monitor ads if you had anything that you needed to put in.
Well, if we were trying to put every announcement, for
Yeah.
example, that we put on the website, that would be horrible to spend in a newspaper.
Yeah,
but
right,
We
exactly.
can put them all up there
Yeah.
and scroll through.
And I think it's important for people to know. So
And
not
it's-
everybody goes on a website.
I was gonna
and-
say, a lot of people don't see what's on the website and still haven't signed up for
Fire
it.
permit stuff.
And I can
They
tell
can get
you-
all of the notifications from it.
That's it, and
I know it's
people
a lot of
forget
money.
real fast. So if they go by and they see it all the time, I think, they'll remember things.
Well, they don't care.
Participation is nice to have in the town.
So I'm going to
Oh,
ask
they
for
slow down
purchase
long
orders
enough
on
to
the
read
other
it?
items.
Okay.
slow down
Knowing
now.
that
Sit
some
on
of
the
these
bus.
other
Yeah.
items, we need more quotes than what we have.
That sounds
Does that sound fair
reasonable.
enough? Okay.
The only thing with the getting different,
Yes.
I'd like to ask him a couple of questions on that safety building. I know you've done a horrendous amount of work in there. I mean, I know in the past, we've had a lot of problems with ice on the inside of that building. I know you've had work done for that issue. I do believe there was a problem with maybe the roof wasn't insulated properly, causing ice backup on the roof. How much more issues need to be done with that safety building? Are there any more major issues that really need attention to that building?
well, Phil takes care of the building, he'd be the person to be asking. We haven't had the ice, we haven't had the ice in the cold weather lately, but after they spent the money to put the additions on, there's still an ice problem there. in
Always
the-
will be with
On the
metal roofs.
building, but with the insulation in there, yes, there was talk about that insulation being changed from the energy committee. in, I think Eric Lake might have mentioned something about the insulation, but I don't, for me to tell you that the insulation isn't right, or it is, that's out of my league.
I mean, I'm just trying to look at the needs over the wants. I mean, we all know roads are going nuts on what costs. That's a necessity and a need. And I think the sign would be a great thing. I ain't saying it ain't. But I think at this time in the world, we really need pinch pennies when we can.
I don't know if they'll ever fix the problem with the ice.
No, I
And,
don't think so.
well, I think you're right. I think we bought a pig in a poke when we had that building built. But that's long gone, we've got it. And I think it's gonna be spending money in that thing forever. So that's what we got. And that's my point.
Okay.
And we're gonna be dumping money in that, and dumping money in it, and dumping money in it, and $10,000 here, $20,000 there, that's really not a necessity, is a lot of money. When we're gonna go spend $500,000 in roads, and when we can save 10 grand, we need to save 10 grand. That's my point.
Point taken. Thank you. Yes.
I have a question about the sign too, because when you spoke about it a month ago, you know, I asked about would others in town, and the only one that comes to mind right now would be the campground. If we had that sign, could the campground get a sign like that?
I think that would be a better question for the planning board,
Planning board
because the
is-
planning board is what handles the commercial exceptions and things.
And you'd have to
Okay.
look back at what the original agreement was with Joe DePrimo for the sign that they put up there, and we'd go by that previous agreement. If he wanted to amend the agreement for a bigger sign, he would probably have to go back before the ZBA.
Yeah, 'cause his sign is pretty small,
Right.
really small.
He's full.
What was the cost of the sign?
Was it about 20-ish?
$22,819. Is what's on here.
Okay. Any other, are we set to go forward at this point?
I think I understand what we need to do.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Also, Mr. Chair, I did not type in department head reports on this. I'm sorry, the health is really bad. But it is, department heads are here to report on their department.
Sounds great. So why don't we do that before we jump into random budget stuff? So come on down, gentlemen. And/or Ms. Clerk.
No, you can't, you
Forget
can't go.
things.
Sorry, I'll have to.
Just like you can't go, there's random things fall in town hall.
You were all set, Dana, we had it anyway.
What's
We knew.
You
We were
did?
all set.
Yeah, okay, okay.
That's why they're,
I know.
they know that.
Well,
They're trained well.
I depend on them, yeah.
You go first?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, we ended the year pretty good. And if you notice, I know you got two sets of department head things mailed to you this morning. One of them, the first one, I didn't, let me find my budget here. I didn't take into consideration the money from the, grants. I'm sorry, money from the special details. So, we brought in, $16,777.50 in funds for that. But it still leaves us with the overall budget, we had we had $5,308.60 left at I'm sorry, that was the first one that I made the mistake of. We had $11,468.90, 3.9% left on the budget. But we did bring a ton of money in for the details, which really helped. And it helped pay for the complete interior of the new cruiser, so that didn't come out of the budget at all.
So that was, excuse me, but that was the money that has been retained by the town to take care of wages for the
Right.
details and the taxes, and is it the car as well, something
Yep.
like that? And the remainder goes into your, the revolving fund, which is how you pay for the interior of the car.
Absolutely. Or anything else that needs to be done to the car
Okay.
that we can, that we
Right,
try to
okay.
use that instead of coming out of the regular
I
funds
just
out
want
of
to make sure I
taxation.
understood, thank you.
So December 1st to the 31st, we had 42 motor vehicle stops, 1 summons. They were pretty good for the whole month. 1 arrest with 8 charges, and it was a felony arrest. Officers handled 62 calls for services. The typical calls, department information, found property, juvenile petitions, mental health checks. We've had a number of those in the past month. Motor vehicle accidents, residential burglary alarms, sex offender registrations, suspicious persons in vehicles, citizen welfare checks. We did a number of those too this past month, especially for the elderly. Animal complaints, assist other agencies. We had 1 sudden death that we responded to. Citizens, assist to other citizens, broken down motor vehicles, assist to the fire department, EMS. So it was a pretty busy month altogether. And the only thing it is, I put a note in there that for our next meeting, I will bring the year-ending stats for everything that we happened for the whole year, including mileage and everything, how many miles of road we've patrolled for the year and everything else in it.
Awesome.
We'll have that for our year-end budgets.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? All right.
So I'd like to thank you folks, it was a great year. Couldn't have better in the office, with the help from the 2 gentlemen there. And my buddy here and Phil, and Jordan, and the police officers. We had all that rain there a couple of days before Christmas. And Richie was on duty, and he was a big help. He was all over town, and he threw as much brush that night and the next day as I did. And he was supposed to leave at 3 o'clock, and he called me at 6 and says, "I'm gonna go home, I'm just checking in, and are you all set? Can I do any more for you?" So the departments are really working together. I know there was some people in the past that said it would never happen or couldn't happen, but we
been good.
proved them wrong.
Absolutely.
So,
The way it should be, it's awesome.
I just wanna thank you guys for being there for us.
Hey, we're all in this together. That's what the town's for.
That's right, that's what I gotta
We're
say,
all in
that
this together.
makes the town special.
So, okay, so on the highway, we'll go to the highway. We did have that storm. I don't know, some people said in the bottom of their water bucket or feed alley tub or something, they had 6 and 8 inches of rain, but I mean, I didn't measure it, but we had a lot of rain. Judy Jones, she said there was more rain this storm than in the 2005 storm. I did get a compliment that the gentleman told me he knew in the past that people weren't real happy with me, how I did my ditching, but he said it really paid off, that you had good ditches in the town of Webster, he says, because take a ride around and look at some of the other towns that the roads got washed out, and it was minimal here. We did have a problem with all the leaves that were up on the side hills, and all that rain brought stuff down to the culverts. We kept up with a lot of it, but you can't be everywhere at once. The water did go across the road again down at Johnny Little's at Ricky Cummins' old pit. I hadn't seen that across the road, and I think that was probably 2005.
Long time, I thought the same thing when I went by there.
I don't believe it went over the bridge on Corn Hill, pretty close at the town line. The water did go over the road out behind New Hampshire Drive, because there's a 15-inch pipe, and I don't know if a 2-foot pipe would've handled, I don't know if a 2-foot pipe would've handled the water that was coming down through there that afternoon, but, there was a lot of water everywhere, and there was a lot of trees down, a lot of wires down, and people with power saws that think they're doing you a good favor to start cutting the trees out of the road that we left behind are coned off because there's wires down or through them. A down wire is a live wire, and so Unitil, the public service, Eversource grounds that, says it's okay. But someday somebody's gonna get killed because I don't know. But, it was great to come back and see the tree chopped up out of the road, but,
But don't do that if there's a wire.
correct. We finished the year out 222 calls of service. Firehouse, and I'm jumping around. Yeah, so anything else on roads and highways, streets and bridges?
Doing a good job. No complaints.
Clothespin Bridge is still holding up after it all.
Yeah,
It's starting to show one of the plates, but,
well, they move,
yeah,
they move.
but
and-
it's holding up
Yeah.
well.
And I did get a nice picture sitting on the bridge going upstream there when that river, she was
Oh.
full.
Yeah, you're not,
It's neat seeing how far up the frozen cap of things is sitting on trees.
I didn't realize how much it drops.
yeah, that was, yeah, at least 3 feet within a day. Amazing. I never saw that high a river ever in, well, I've been here for 50 years, and that was really high, really high.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they held water back. I didn't get.
They must have held
look
water
behind
back.
the dam. Did you, John? Did you look to
And
see?
go up there.
I wanted to go up there too, and I totally forgot.
Well, Jen Sula, she had her dogs, she walked behind the dam behind John's house, and she said the water was as high as her head. So she said that the water was really high when they held the water back, so
Oh.
I don't know that it's gone down.
In '69, it only needed another 6 inches to go over the top of the dam.
I remember one time, and I don't even know what year it was, that everybody's going to the dam. You could have sold hot dogs and stuff there because the water was so high, it almost went over the dam by a couple inches. And they were totally worried about if it went over the dam, there's no control, so that's not good. But luckily, but I remember people would be walking up and down on, by the dam, just looking at the water.
You
I
could
think
feel
they-
the spray.
Huh?
You could feel the spray coming through the gateways
Oh, yeah?
up at that little garage on top.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
There was
that's
that much force coming out of that gateway.
scary.
Yeah.
So other than the New Year's mud season, we'll see with that. That's gonna take some doings to get them back into shape before it freezes again, so we can plow them without having ruts, because once them ruts freeze in there, you're stuck with them for the rest of the winter, and that will be like driving on train tracks. So, we can't do anything when it's wet and rainy, but hopefully it will dry out, we can doctor them up somehow, so.
You'll do a good job.
So, yeah, 222 calls, we finished the year out at the firehouse. All the equipment's in good shape, and things are going as good as they can be. Calls, medical calls, we did have 28 28 calls of service the month of December. And like the chief said, one of them was an untimely death, and the police department worked there with us.
That was tonight at the meeting.
Right, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So the outcome wasn't that great, well, it wasn't great at all, but we did what we could.
I might just point out to the select board, in the packet I gave you tonight, there is a letter to Emmett, the fire department, which I think is a very nice letter.
Awesome. Yes.
You give him a copy?
Emmett gave me a copy.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got that.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's nice. Nice to have people do that.
Yeah, no, it is, it's cool.
Extra special.
Yeah, and I got that in the mail, and it's nice that people tell us how good of a job it is, but it's good for the select board to see that we get recognized,
Exactly.
not just, the whole department, so.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But we do appreciate everybody's commitment. And-
Yeah, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
We just had a young man that finished his EMT class. We just had a young lady that finished her fire 2, and she's signing up for an EMT class. I have 3 applications to join. One of them's an EMT paramedic. The other young man is an EMT. And then the other young man, he just finished his EMT class as well. And so there's 3 new applications that we're reviewing, and Phil's doing the background checks and the driving records and all that. That's all, and Michelle, she helps with all that stuff with us.
So do we have a full complement, basically, of EMTs and, I mean, we could always probably use more, but basically, we're pretty set.
We have a good roster of people, but it's hard because when the bell rings, you can have 25 people, but that doesn't mean that
They're there.
that
Right.
that everybody can, or even 1 or 2 can come, and that's where we have the backup from Tookie, which is great. They serve us well for what they charge us. But, during the day, everybody's gotta go to work so
Right,
they
there's
can
a
pay
bed, this is a
their
bedroom
bills.
community, so
And,
you're gonna depend on others.
And if they're available, they come, and if they don't, then that's what we have mutual aid
Yeah,
set up for. But for the most part, we're fortunate for the roster that we have and the dedication that we have of the people. So,
that's good. That's good. Proud of that.
and the experience and the training that they all have, so. We're in good shape compared to some towns.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in fact, you have some applicants, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Not many people can say they get applicants.
Yeah, really,
I don't care what you do.
yeah,
So, that's awesome.
yeah. So, other than that, unless you folks have questions for the firehouse,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. So,
Mr. Chairman, the next issue of the budget, and I'm wondering if Emmett could stay for that, please.
What's that, Dana?
Budget?
Your budget.
My budget?
Yeah, I want to talk, I'm hoping you can stay.
I can.
Okay, great.
I can, because you said you were gonna double it, so it's worth staying.
For you, Emmett, triple it, yeah.
so I was
don't care, you
actually
live
going
here.
to ask if, I was actually gonna ask if, since we also have the clerk here, if we wanted to move forward to the next business before the budget, because I don't know how long the budget will take.
I'm hoping it'll take a very short time, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, well,
Yes,
in that
Chairman, me
case-
too.
But I don't mind however you wish to do
Yes,
it.
Whatever you guys wanna
I
do.
think that's a great idea, let's,
Okay.
yeah, we don't wanna have to hold people.
So
up
that
to-
moves us forward to new business.
Well, as you may have heard, unfortunately, the town clerk has submitted her resignation. I did give you a copy of her letter in the material that I prepared for you. Michelle's last day is tomorrow, and she's been very gracious to agree to help us out through January, coming in on Saturdays to process online registrations and also registrations we receive in the mail. So that, I think everyone knew she was leaving by now, but we did get a nice letter, and certainly, I'm very happy for Michelle and I'm very sad for us. But at any rate, we hope we see her once in a while. Also, that brings us down to what are we going to do with the town clerk's office? And temporary, I'm going to be talking to you a little later in non-public regarding a candidate. But for now, I have made arrangements with the Warner Town Clerk to take care of Webster residents for what their needs are as far as registrations go, automobile registrations. We will not get the charge, the $3, is it $3, Michelle, per?
$3 municipal agent fee.
We won't get that, but we will get the money that we're due for the registrations. And I think that Warner is gonna send us a check every other week. I wanted to tell you first, this just came about today, and I'll make the announcement on the website and so forth. And Dee, I don't know if I have time to get it
Yeah,
into the
you do.
grapevine, but I would
No,
like to.
I'm late, yeah, too
Okay.
many parties around.
Okay, well, that's good for me then. So, as far as the vital statistics, people can go to any town clerk in New Hampshire if this happened in New Hampshire. Stop me if I'm wrong, Michelle, but if it happened in New Hampshire, if you need a birth certificate or something, you can go to another town clerk and get it.
So what will happen, we'll tell people that they will go to
The Warner-
Warner, and they'll go to Warner, not
They
here.
would go to Warner. She would
Okay,
not be
she wouldn't
coming
come here.
And it would be during her hours, and I will post the Warner hours. So we're very appreciative.
Oh,
Or
absolutely,
they
yeah.
can just take care of it online.
Or they can take care of it online through the end of the month, and then we'll have to figure out what we do then. But, and I've got some more discussion with Michelle, so until she can get away, which she'd probably be running like fast. Anyway, the other issue, which is pretty important, is the elections coming up, and I'm still working to figure out how that's going to work. I do have a call into Secretary of State's office to get some guidance on that. And I have had other clerks that said they would give me advice and give me some pointers, and I appreciate that too.
Thankfully, not that the town clerk job is not prescribed and extremely important, but thankfully we do have also a fairly good elections staff and moderator. And I'm sure that at least a few of them will be able to offer suggestions as well.
Mhm. And I did hear from the moderator, so that's where we are. Tomorrow at noon, we're having a little pizza party for Michelle. If you have nothing better to do, come on down.
All right.
Well, I think I'd like to take the opportunity, as being kind of a new person, watching how everything runs. You know, when you just go vote, you don't think of all the things that have to happen So, she'll be sorely missed, you
Absolutely.
know, but we're wishing you well. And, but it was an eye-opener to what you need to know, all the rules and the regulations, so it'll be hard to replace but, like I said, you know, hey, everybody's gonna do what they gotta do, so. But I didn't want you to think that we hadn't appreciate your, I mean, I feel like sometimes your service, I know you're paid to do it, but there was things that you went above and beyond, so. That's much appreciated.
And it was very nice that Michelle knew everybody,
Oh, yeah, I was,
you know, so.
she knows more people than I can't remember my own kids' names.
That's very helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. And the town clerk's job, and I think this is, you know, throughout New Hampshire, unless you work in a bigger community, so often the town clerk just gets thrown in the middle of this swirl. So,
Agreed.
it's gonna be bumpy. I don't think we're gonna have to put out the Webster's closed sign, but it's gonna be bumpy. And, we will miss Michelle, and I will have her on speed dial.
You don't need to close things down, you just gotta put up a sign, patience, please.
Yes, so thank you very much for your many years of service, and
How many years do you,
15.
15 years.
That was my guess. Somebody else.
I think it's a few days shy of 15, but I'm going with 15.
Absolutely. Earn every one of
At
that.
that point, it's certainly close
Yeah,
enough.
and if they
exactly.
wanna argue with you, let 'em.
Yeah, right.
Michelle started when she was 12 years old.
Right.
Can I ask some questions? Or should
Sure.
I discuss it with Dana?
I guess it depends on whether it's a town administrator process thing, whether it's for us, or whether it should be a non-public thing.
I don't think it should be non-public.
Okay.
Um,
Then please.
So, my concern is that if the state and departments have been notified that my resignation is effective on the 5th, like if I work through tomorrow, that I shouldn't be allowed to come in on Saturdays and do the work. Because they would shut me off or shut me down, or, so I don't, were you able to find out from anybody if
Yes,
I
I
had to be
spoke with the
appointed?
state today, and I explained the situation, and she said that was not an issue.
Okay, so,
But, so in other words, they're not gonna shut you off,
okay,
yeah.
so I didn't have to be reappointed
No.
as something else, just to be able to
No.
process that stuff?
No,
Okay.
they were, you know, they understood what I was telling them, and they were amenable to it. They've been very helpful as well.
So, if I'm also, I would encourage people in your write-up, I would encourage them to not only do the online, but if they didn't wanna do online or couldn't do it with the mail-ins as well, the renewal mailers, so that the town of Warner isn't inundated with just simple renewals.
Yeah,
It would just
because
be focused more on transfers, new registrations.
those are the ones that really need a person, isn't it, like, as
Correct.
far as.
The other stuff
yeah,
can be done
Yeah,
online or in the Dropbox or through the mail.
okay,
But if they do things through the mail, am I still allowed to go to the bank? Cause I'll have the funds.
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
I just don't wanna be violating anything.
no. I
Um,
mean, obviously, at the end of January, you know, that would stop, but,
So Franklin Savings, I can still access that for transfers,
yes.
and they haven't been told to shut me off or anything.
I have not told Nancy to
Okay.
shut you off, no.
I'd also like to be able to do my annual reports for 22.
Oh, you should.
We would like you to.
Yeah, wait.
I like to wait a little bit longer because especially with deaths or births, they have to be recorded and it could take a few days, so I can't just shut it off right
I
at
don't
the
think there'll
31st.
be anyone in your office for a while, so until that happens, we'll leave it the way it is, and you can get what you have to get done.
Okay.
Certainly, if anything comes up that you think I should be aware of, or I can help you with, or you can teach me,
Okay.
please do that, yeah.
All right. I also, and I don't know if you wanna talk about this in non-public, but how am I gonna get paid?
That's what I was just thinking.
Oh, were we paying you?
You said triple.
I was going to discuss that with the board,
Okay.
in the non-public.
Do I have to-
Why
well,
would that be non-public? Don't we have a right to know where the town funds are going?
It's not going anywhere right now, so,
Well, you're discussing town funds, so I think it'd be public.
Any sort of employment issues are typically non-public, including compensation.
And then
Even though the
it's announced, yeah.
overall budget and the line items are discussable and shown,
But she's still a town employee, so.
which would be why it would be non-public. Though, as an employee or a possible contract or whatever, it would have to be non-public. As a elected representative, as she currently is, and to, for example, pay her as the town clerk that's elected, that would not fall into non-public.
91A.
But any other sorts of things
43.
would.
2A.
yeah. I was going to have a chance to talk with the select board so that I could have a chance to talk to Michelle. And we could work that through. But obviously, I can't do anything with the money until you give me some direction.
Okay. Did you have any other questions?
So you don't need me to stick
I
around
don't think we
then?
do. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Sorry, I just showed back up today, so I don't know everything.
well, and I think we should all feel fortunate that she's able to guide us.
I think it's very generous.
Yeah, cause
and-
there's, well,
and
just
I'm
like
very
even in
appreciative.
any company or any position, you know, there's a lot to what she does, so. It could cost the town a lot more money if things aren't done, at least getting somebody trained and getting it done correctly.
Or it could cost you a lot of money if it's not done correctly from here forward. That's what I'm getting at.
I think that was her point, but,
Yeah,
all right.
Great.
Any other questions for Michelle?
no,
Okay.
Thank
Again,
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow morning.
Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and get back to the budget.
So the one question I really had was Emmett's budget. And in the packet I gave you, I'm sorry I had to hand number these, the computer and I weren't getting along today. And so number 22 is Emmett's budget. And I should give this to Emmett so that he can look at it. As you know, we're wanting to incorporate the highway block grant into the regular budget.
Yes.
And I had thought I had taken those numbers out, so I've got $27,000 in there that I shouldn't. But there are a couple of accounts that were in the highway block grant that I think Emmett is gonna want to keep separate out. The new account that we had, were the fuel charges over contract. So I think I'll look at here if I have to. But, you know, we've gone back and forth with this, and I just need to make sure my mind's straight on it. So I guess first question is, should I just add the 13,675 in the highway equipment, which I have up top, and the labor at the same amount in that?
Knowing that line items can be changed, and, you know, one pulled to the next, for example, when needed, I'm fine with that unless Emmett tells us that the percentage between the two should be different. But overall, it's still going to be in the same budget and not change.
The bottom line's the same.
Correct. So.
So actually, the highway block grant, you just have that stuff at the very bottom where it says new.
Yeah, after that, so there were, was it like 7 or 8 items, I think, that were in the highway block grant? And four of
Okay,
them
so
seem,
you-
four of
okay,
them
yeah.
seem to be unique
Yeah.
compared to what
Yeah.
was in highways and streets already. The one that I remember was, that we needed to change the name on, was the calcium chloride one to, oh wait, no, that's down at the bottom as the salt, gravel, sand.
Yeah.
I thought that was all gonna get combined into one, but whatever works.
You thought that that was gonna be combined with calcium chloride?
Yeah, cause it was all treatment of roads. But
Is it
it
easier
doesn't
to-
really matter to me.
Is it easier to keep track of the calcium chloride separate from the other stuff?
Well, see, the calcium chloride, when I build that out, when we spread it out, I just put that as regular maintenance, general maintenance. And when I buy it from a company and they deliver it, and I bring the slip to the office, and then they get a slip from Allstate Asphalt, then I sign off on that. So we use the calcium, just a product out of that line. And then
And that's done the same way for
Sure.
salt, gravel, and sand, right?
yeah,
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's easier to have it separated for you or put together with the
Or to
rest,
just
the
have
other
it be a road
line?
surface treatment line item.
it's whatever works for Dana.
Whatever easiest for you, anything's easy for me. I mean, I don't mean to sound like
I mean,
that,
the
but-
way it's all printed out right here, I mean,
The other thing I wanted to bring up, Emmett, you hadn't changed your budget items from last year. And I wanna make sure that, you know.
increase the budget, you're saying?
Well, I'm not telling you to, but I'm saying.
No, no,
are
I
we
realize,
being-
yeah.
Are we being
Right.
realistic?
No, no, and
Yeah.
I didn't,
Yeah.
and, I know the cost of everything has gone crazy, but, I mean, I'm good with this budget, as long as we get the road preservation and the
Oh.
road construction to do some of the work.
We're going to,
But if we
handle that
don't-
the way that it's been handled, and I believe the board is supporting, the amount suggested to put in.
From the CIP.
Yes, yeah.
The processing will be slightly different, so that it's a little easier for checks and stuff. and you don't
Yes, yeah,
constantly have to ask
yes,
them.
yes,
But overall, it will be done the same way.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, it's all black and white, and at the end of the year, it's the bottom dollar.
So I'm going to take out, because I should have taken out that 13,675 that is in block grant, equipment, and the same amount is in block grant labor. And as you see, I've added it up top.
And I would personally be in favor of doing the simplification where the salt, gravel, and sand is the same line item as the chloride, and it's just called, road treatment or whatever the most appropriate wordage is. Because I think that's
Dust control.
less line items is usually easier for people to follow.
Okay. So I would include the amount budgeted into the other line.
Yes.
And retitle.
Correct.
Okay.
And then I think the
Okay.
only thing that would be left there from the previous highway block grant would be outside rentals.
Oh, yes, yeah, okay, I think you're right.
So, And I don't know whether we need to label that it's from highway block grant or not at that point, but for the purposes of us understanding it.
Right,
easily.
because the outside rental, you got $3,000 here for outside rental. I rent over the rail mower for 2 weeks, that's $4,000. I rent a pounder for a week, that's $5,000. I mean, that's,
Isn't it 43,000?
what, the outside rental?
Now, the outside rental is listed at 3. The 43,000 is the surfaces from the.
Oh,
highway
thank
block
you.
grant.
Yeah, at the,
Yeah, okay,
sand, salt, gravel.
So
So
where,
the-
do you normally take that
Yeah, 'cause
additional
you-
amount from?
Well, outside
Preservation?
rental, so if I'm gonna rent, the pounder for $5,000, then it costs $1,000 to get it there in trucking back and forth.
So you're saying we should up that line?
Well, I take that out of, a lot of times, I'll take that out of if it, road preservation or road construction, because that's when we bring all the stuff
Right,
back
that's
to the
when
pit.
you're doing the actual
Right,
job for
right.
it, getting the
But-
material ready for
But
the.
the
preserving.
roadside mowing, just for the machine, to rent it, it's, $2,000 a week. But, and then what we did, I just had Wendy last time, take that out of, outside rental, and then she took it out of the bottom line. But,
Cause you have a remaining balance from last year, right? Am I reading that right? The
Sure.
$2,000,
say what?
is that like?
No.
I don't remember what the date was that these were accurate.
Oh, okay,
but-
okay,
Yeah,
so you've
no,
already
that-
used it
Those are
up.
probably
Yeah, oh,
a couple
yeah,
weeks old,
yeah,
Marlo,
yeah.
but there is an
Oh,
excess.
nice.
Yes,
Yeah, it's probably like November or something.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
no,
gotcha. So that's zeroed out now?
right.
Okay,
that,
and you're proposing the same amount as last year?
yeah, that will work as long as we have that other, money to,
The trust funds.
right.
Yeah.
That's why it's
But I have no idea what the cost of gravel's gonna be. I do have a little over 3,000 yards of material that I've got all broke up at the pit and ready to crush. And, Hennecker crushed stone won't get back to me. And then when I talked to Timmy Allen, the road agent over to Warner, he said they didn't get back to him, and he found out that they didn't even crush last year, so, he gave me the number for, Fuzzy Brothers, out of Keene. They've done Warner's last year and Bradford's, and, the young man's name, I guess he's a young man, he sounded young on the phone, is coming over at the end of the week to look at our pile, to crush, so, I'm working on that as well.
Okay.
Fuzzy Brothers.
I know, right?
It's certainly memorable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it.
well.
The other thing.
He looks at, cause that's my brother-in-law's name.
Oh.
Weaver Brothers,
Yeah.
Fuzzy Brothers, that's why he's,
Oh,
he's looking at me
okay.
like, hello.
The highway block grant budget was always based on the total of the highway block grant. Am I right on that? Andy?
say that again?
Yes.
The highway block grant budget was based on what the highway block grant is. So,
Right, and
Yeah,
every
it was-
year
It was always an even
yeah.
Yeah.
revenue and
So,
Yeah.
I
spend.
mean,
But that's not realistic for how
no,
a road is
no,
handled.
and the thing with the block grant is you have to prove you've spent it on roads, and we can easily do that.
Sure we'll find a place to spend it, on
sure,
roads.
I'm sure.
Um, does it make sense to continue to keep separate fuel for rental equipment and outside rental? Or should it just all be like, this is all going out of a rental? Since we're already adjusting things.
There is a
Well, the,
line for fuel for rental.
Fuel for rental,
Yeah.
it looks like it's $800.
Mhm.
And,
That's why I'm wondering if instead of fuel for rental equipment and outside rental equipment, maybe it should just be
In that one
rental.
line.
And that.
yeah, just
both
do,
would be covered.
just do one line, because that, yeah, that I mean, it's, yeah, I guess, I mean, that pays for, when we run your chipper, the town's chipper. Yeah, I don't even know if I charge the town for that. Jesus, I might have to add all them up for the last 15 years. So, yeah, that's the rental, so if you rent the mower, that goes in there, and then it should be for that chipper.
Is it easier for you to keep track the way that this thing is broken down, Emmett?
What's that,
Is it
Dee?
easier for you to keep track the way these things are broken down, or does it make a difference if they're all
Or is it
put
easier
together?
to stick it all in one item?
Well, no, the way we make the bills out, it's 10-wheeler work, so many hours, and then the equipment, so that comes out of the equipment, highway equipment, and then the labor is all separated out of that, so I mean, and then Dana, we have the stamp, and then they have a number that I write on that and initial it, it's okay for them to pay it, so it really doesn't matter.
So I can combine those?
Yeah, so if we combine that, then there's nothing left that is purely from the old highway block grant budget, and it would then all be incorporated into the existing line items with the funds moved over, obviously. And then the new line for the fuel, the contract overage fuel charge.
But don't we have to have the highway block grant separated for, we don't? The
No.
government doesn't care at all? I'm just thinking.
All they want, if they gave us, oh no,
Money.
$70,000,
Yeah,
for example.
yeah.
If they ever wanted to audit us and said, did you spend $70,000 on roads? That's all you need.
Oh, so you don't have to say it came from the highway block
No.
grant, all right, okay. All right, that's all I wanted, because
Right.
government,
That was a
Gives me a headache.
misconception of me
Yeah.
when I was first
Oh,
coming
really?
into all of this was, oh, it's highway block grant, it has to be highway.
that's right,
block
that's what I would
grant.
think, because they're gonna
So-
want you
and I
to
was
say
like, did he
something.
use it all? Because that's free money, and
Yeah.
that was never an issue in
Okay,
the first place.
okay, that's what I'm just
So-
wondering.
So now the highway block grant equipment will go away, and that will go up as just highway equipment?
No, the fuel for rental equipment.
No, we're not
instead of-
talking fuel.
Instead of just fuel, and instead of just rental equipment, it will be all of the rental equipment in one line item. So
Right.
it'll be both fuel
Right,
and
but
equipment.
that's not that wasn't my question.
Oh, sorry.
My question is highway block grant
Mhm.
equipment. That line's gonna go away, and we're just gonna have one line with highway equipment.
Correct. And the same with highway block grant.
And the labor, there'll just be one labor.
Mhm.
Okay, no, I'm just,
That should
Yeah.
make it a lot easier
Yeah.
for people to follow, so.
so instead of having 10 codes, we'll have 6,
Yes.
the account numbers.
Actually, I think right now there's 7 or 8 in highway block grant, but these were the 4 that were notable to mention. All of the other stuff matched ideally or something of that nature. I don't remember what
Yeah.
the full details now, but
So
yeah,
I will combine those lines
perfect.
and, I'd like to bring that back to you once I do that. I don't think, unless you have questions on any other portions of the budget, I didn't think you did. I think you had gone through that. But,
We had gone
but
through
I, because I am me, I'd like to go through it one more time, to make sure we're still on the same page. Also,
My one thing before we leave this, since you're doing all the combining, and he mentioned that the outside rental equipment was not even enough for like one of the pieces of equipment, say the pounder. Work with Emmett to get a good number for that after you've put it together,
okay.
so that we keep it realistic.
Because it must have been coming from a different spot than rental equipment.
Right,
Right.
well, we rent that, no, but like.
You were taking it from highway, you said it's already, didn't
If I
you?
rent something
Sorry.
from Apple
Yes.
Trash or,
Yes,
yeah,
it would go to
take
highway,
that,
yes,
yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to re-ask.
Yeah,
That's-
sometimes you have to pay for it out of the trust fund.
Trust
Yeah.
fund, but the roadside mowing comes out of.
That's
out
gotta
of
come out
this.
of that, yeah.
And if you're gonna, rent a tire saw,
So yeah, just let's make sure that it's
Okay.
as accurate as we can make it
Yeah.
for the start.
Thank you for helping me with that, appreciate it.
I don't know how much help I was, I probably confused you.
Well,
no,
we've
it's
had a
good.
lot of different scenarios this year, talking about the budget, and so I think we're at a point now we've decided how it's gonna work. Also, at your next meeting, in addition to this, we need to be thinking about what warrant articles you would like to write. The public hearing for the budget, we have to wait until after, I believe it's February 8th, I'll check that date, because of petition warrant articles. But we'll need to have a public hearing for that. Last year, I think we did it on a Thursday night.
I don't remember the night, but
the
yeah.
problem is, that I have, is that your last meeting in February, if I tried to combine it with a regular select board meeting, is also the last day you could hold it, and if we had a bad storm or something, it would be in the soup, so,
Don't wanna be in the suit.
no.
We could always have a meeting.
I would say try to work with the moderator, because he normally runs it as a
He
mock
does,
town meeting.
yeah, he does, and he told me the days he's not available, so we've done that, yeah. But thank you.
All right. So what did you want to cover in here? You said you wanted to go over something else?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, not tonight.
You know where you live.
Yeah, you do.
With the change for the municipal agent's fees, for example, with the clerk, did we need to change anything in our revenue projections? Or does that not matter until like the end and it all gets
Well,
exactly done for the MS1?
I don't think it's going to be enough to worry about
Okay.
in this range. I think
Unless
when
you
I
can
talk
find
to you about
somebody.
the clerk's budget
Right.
next time, we are gonna have some expenses that we did not expect, that we'll have to be mindful of. And basically, that has to do with training of a new person with the software and, basically the avatar software. So there are gonna be costs there.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments?
No, sounds good to me.
Okay. So, thank you very much for staying. And hopefully we can make it nice and easy and easier to get paid too.
well, no, it's coming together. Thank you.
It will be easier for me, I know that, so that'd be nice.
All right, that moves us on to correspondence.
Yes. We had a letter, and I just got it today, a gentleman who is having a 45-mile bicycle race that starts at Pat's Peak Ski Area, and he wants to use some of our roads. He's using roads at Henniker, Webster, Warner, and Hopkinton. I've advised him to call the police department and talk to them about it. And Steve, I don't know whether he has or not, this,
We haven't received the letter for that yet.
this
But
just
we knew about
came
it.
by email today,
Oh.
yeah.
we knew that it was coming. They had told us ahead of time. They just didn't give us an exact date on when.
Did you have a concern?
They've done it every year.
So, they do it every year, but.
It's Saturday, April 1st. April Fool's Day, it's supposed to be
Okay, so if
this
it's
year.
April 1st, then the bridge isn't gonna be out on the White Plains Road, that's all,
It's gonna be out?
no, it won't be.
Oh, it won't
but-
be out, okay.
But,
Well, it's a bike, they can carry the bike across.
Yeah, they can go through the river.
Time to ford.
believe
Okay,
me,
yeah.
bicycles do not pay attention to any sign.
That's the
Road
truth.
closed, Flagged off, they're exempt. They
It
don't-
sounded like they were pretty well organized, they have volunteers
Yeah.
at busy crossings and intersections.
Yeah, no, they've been doing it for years.
And
Yeah.
okay, all right. So
Yeah,
I
and
wanted
they-
the board.
so they mentioned that they expect approximately 300 riders. So yeah, I would just make sure that what they believe are gonna be the busy road crossings and intersections, or the important ones, that they work with the police to make sure that they
That's
agree.
what I thought, yeah.
The only thing is, on here, it looks like they'll have to use the cut road to go from Call Road to, right?
Let's see, so
Cause
roads they
they're
want
saying
to
Call
use-
Road to Pond Hill, and I think that's, as time goes by so darn fast, but I think that happened, and the only thing about the cut road is they would probably need to check with Mark and Julianne Phillips for that, correct?
Why, they ride the bicycles on the dirt roads? I thought they stayed on the tar.
No dirt, they
No.
call
See, they got
road.
Call Road.
Call Road, Pond Hill Road, Roby Road, and Clough Sand.
Right, and I
Hill
think
Road.
there might have been a slip, cause, well,
Oh.
the only reason I know is
And
cause when I get to the bottom of my
127
hill,
and-
they got some
yeah.
arrow, and I'm like, I was coming home, I go, am I supposed to go that way? So more or less, but is that something that we, I guess what I'm saying to you is, I know the gentleman that, you know, that Class 6 road that Mark Phillips is, he was not notified last time.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't say, but you can't get from Call Road to Pond Hill Road. Well, you could if you come up to my yard.
I was trying to figure out, you know, it sounded to me like this
yeah.
is the route.
So I think what
Um,
happened the last time is they just went the cut, what we call the cut road.
Okay.
But I know
I will bother
insurance
Steve
wise.
about it.
But if it's a class 6 road, then that's a town road still.
So the cut road would be considered. So that may, I'm just saying, maybe we can
I,
hit that off at a.
Maybe
I,
just make sure that ask them to provide a route, and then let's just make sure that.
What is the cut
matches.
road?
Yeah, I don't know, I was
Well,
wondering that.
you can't get from here to here without either going through my yard or
Call Road to Pond Hill Road.
taking the cut road. Unless I don't, no, they can't.
So what's the cut road, does it have a name?
yeah, it's a cut road.
The cut road.
That's the
And
name?
I guess I'm not sure, I just know last time we actually saw the lady and she said that he was fairly upset because liability wise,
I guess, I mean, it'd be no different than going down the back side of Pond Hill, down over the class 6 part, but I'm not sure if the cut road is a class 6 road,
That's
so.
where I'm going, I'm not sure if it's Class 6 or
so,
private.
so
I
no,
was reading something today that said that's private.
yeah.
So if
private,
it's
they
private,
have
then
to
they
own
need
you.
permission from Mark and
From
Jules.
Mark, yes, right.
From Mark.
And I was just throwing that out there because, you know, let's all just be happy and,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, granted, like I said, they could come up to our yard and they'd end up on Pond Hill, but, you know, they don't get run over by a cow or. They'll be good.
Well,
That is a
we'll
good
check that out. I
question.
never heard of a cut road.
Yeah, so maybe.
Well, it's just
just
what
ask them
we,
for.
it's the
an
nickname
actual
for it,
route,
it's,
Well,
and
actually, that's-
Then check that.
Everything I've read,
so it's cut road.
it's the cut.
Yeah.
It's not the road, it's just the cut.
Okay.
But I do think that was a little different from like, yeah, you didn't know, and I mean, and I'm even thought to myself, did I see these signs last year? I mean, it was very nicely marked. Don't go straight, don't go up the tall hill, go this way. Which they probably all thought, why not?
They must have mountain bikes and big old white tires and probably battery operated and the whole
Yeah.
nine yards.
I know,
Maybe
I got
we
one of
should
them.
do it, yeah.
yeah,
There you go.
I've written it down there, but yes.
All
I
right.
love
That's
my
all the
battery
correspondence I
operated.
had.
Okay,
No.
so that moves us on to public comment.
I bought
Yes.
Sawzall
excuse me,
Cut my deal.
my question is about, because now Michelle is leaving, so the budget for the town clerk is gonna be completely different, right? Because this town clerk's not gonna have any of the benefits, no insurance, no sick time, no vacation.
It is accurate to say that the currently proposed and working budget is the one that was proposed by the current clerk. I assume that in our non-public, we'll be talking about things regarding compensation and other possibilities with any new town clerk. And then we would be able to revise our budget as appropriate to do that.
Okay, because her position was so complicated, working for the police department and as a town clerk, and that was a specialized situation.
Correct.
So the new one, it will be completely different.
We're gonna be,
As far as benefits.
as I mentioned, adjusting the compensation line, as well as taking into account training expense for the clerk on the equipment. The health insurance would come out of the personnel budget, which will also be changing. And so, since it happened at this time of year, we can do that.
Okay. Yes,
It took Michelle roughly 12 years to get legal insurance from this town.
okay.
I mean, she got illegal insurance for several years.
What do you mean by
What
legal?
are you trying to ask?
Well, I'm saying a new town clerk, I don't really think should get benefits for an employee that spent 12 years.
So the comment that I will make there is that there was a warrant article, and the warrant
Yes.
article is very specific that all of what is in it is for the town clerk position. And so any town clerk will get that unless there is a new or different warrant article.
Well, I think what they were trying to do is they was trying to give Michelle, for her good work of 12 years of service, a benefit.
I would not argue with any particular
It's like giving
reasoning
her a
or
raise for,
desires.
it's like giving her a raise for doing a
How-
good job for a lot of years. And it's like starting out a new person for somebody that's,
But we are not allowed to change what the town voted on as a warrant article. We can put out a new warrant article, which we may or may not,
okay,
depending on
I understand what you're
what
saying.
happens, but.
Which warrant article, because I remember once, the town voted in a warrant article not to give insurance, and I don't wanna kick a dead dog, but I don't know what warrant article you're talking about that,
19,
they combined,
2019.
So in
they
2019,
combined those two jobs
No.
to make, yes, they did.
nope.
They combined the hours. Yes, they did.
So, from my understanding, before I was on the board, previous boards had done that as the justification for it as a full-time position to cover it. That was not the way that was suggested by legal, and so what they did was they drafted the warrant article that was passed in 2019 that states that the town clerk position gets this and insurance. And that was passed at that town meeting.
Okay, because I've got some paperwork, a meeting when it was,
I believe that was shot down a couple times previous to that.
no, I understand that, but when Mike Borek, Nancy Schofield, and Bruce Johnson were selectmen, I've got the word for word.
This was after that. This would have been, I believe, Chris, Bianca, and Nancy that passed it, I think.
Well, I know that
But don't quote me on that.
at that other meeting, I can show it to you and we can wrangle about it, but that conversation, they had spoken to the town attorney, and they had spoken to municipal, and two of the selectmen, which was Nancy and Mike, both said, it's illegal, we can't do it, you have to do it legally. And the third person said, well, just add 5 hours onto the two jobs. She doesn't have to work the 5 hours, but that will make her enough hours for full-time to give her the benefits.
So, again, it's history and it's not something I was here to talk
Okay,
about
so-
specifically. However, what I can say is that the warrant article did pass in 2019.
For how many hours work?
It does not cover
Doesn't cover
hours.
that.
And
The town
as
voted
these,
to give it.
as the select board, we are not allowed to demand that.
Okay, so, are you thinking about a warrant article about giving a new town clerk?
She's already got it.
No, it wasn't in that article, it wasn't
It
in
is
your
for the
head.
town clerk position, not for Michelle. So any town clerk will get similar benefits. They will be can you just pull the 2019 warrant and give it to her afterwards?
Of course, yeah.
I think that's the easiest way to do it. And
Because
then
I-
if you have further questions, let us know.
I know in talking at all these meetings, the sentiment, and it was, I understand the sentiment because Michelle, she comes from a long line and did a super job, perfect person for the job because she knows everybody, she knows where everything is, perfect person for the job. Somebody new's gonna come in, and I can't even think of who is gonna come in, but I'm sorry, that's an elected position. Can we get a warrant article in about giving a new town clerk who doesn't have any other hours with Webster? Because I don't know what it's gonna be for the hours, because they set their own hours. But about giving a part-time elected employee benefits, because that costs a lot of money.
It does.
And you don't have to pay any, I don't know that, that position pays anything towards insurance. Just like you were doing dental, I don't think they were gonna have to.
From my recollection of the warrant article, it says they must be offered or that they must be provided health care. I don't believe it says anything about percentages. So that may be subject to change. Again, we'll have to see what candidates are doing now for when we appoint them until the election. And then in theory, the best way to do it would be to have that person write the new warrant article as the previous town clerk and certain people did in concert to make sure that that is accurately expressed. I can't guarantee that will happen, but that would be my hope.
Okay, so there's a deadline for putting in warrant articles, right?
Yes.
So how will, if John Q. Public, I don't mean this John, John Q. Public wanted to put in a warrant article about benefits for the new town clerk and the newer town
We'll
clerks.
do away with it.
That would be a petition warrant article, and do you
Correct.
happen to know the date?
I think it's like February 8th, but I can also give you that.
Okay,
I
but
think
my-
it's the beginning
My
of
question
February.
is,
February
is the
6th,
board
right?
gonna put something in the warrant articles about,
We have not yet discussed that, so.
okay, because,
we'll-
you know,
we
it
can't
would be
really let you know yet.
futile to have two of them in there. You know, it'd be.
It's entirely possible to have two of them, and then the people vote on whichever one they want.
Okay, I just,
That's actually happened with some of the, I think it was the war veterans benefit one. There was a petition warrant article that was submitted, and then the board, after running it through legal, reworded it to be more legal and suggested that version instead of the petition one. But anything that's petition must be put on the warrant article as written, as petitioned.
great.
So it's entirely possible to have more than one there for people to vote on.
So, just, this is my question. If you had a warrant article in, whether it was yours or by petition, to not give benefits, how would that affect the budget amount that you put in for the town clerk? If it was,
I think what she's asking
If
is
they
if for
said
some
no.
reason there's no benefits offered, I mean, there again, as we're gonna discuss this, cause
Yeah.
you know, finding part-time. But anyways, how much will that save us by not having to give?
Right, because you
I
have insurance
don't
taken
have
out.
the specific number in front of me per employee, and I don't know if we're allowed to give that out because of HIPAA
Well,
laws,
I'm
but.
not asking how
But it would
much,
save
I'm
the
just
amount of
saying-
insurance.
Because the first warrant article is always the overall budget, and that includes all the pay. So
Right.
if that passes, then you've already got the sick, the vacation, the insurance and everything else for the town clerk. So what if they vote it down? What happens to that money?
So the most sensible way to do it is that if there is going to be a warrant article that specifically says either we're paying this amount or we're offering these specific benefits at these percentages or anything of that nature, you remove that funding out of the budget so that it is only a warrant article at that point. And then following years, you can say that it would then be reflected in the budget going forward, which is not the way it was worded, but how it was handled for the previous warrant. Any further public comment? All right. Any other comment from board members or employees while we're here?
I was getting Tara the petition date, and was there one other thing I was going to get
The
for her?
previous
The-
warrant article.
The 2019 one.
2019,
Thank
yeah.
you. It's the old-timer song.
And I know there was plenty of discussion about that, so maybe the town report following that would have had the minutes for
Yeah.
that town
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah,
I'll be in tomorrow morning. I have to give
Okay.
something to Michelle, so.
all right, I'll be here, I hope.
Yeah. All right, so that moves us on to motions and approvals.
Everybody's favorite
Um,
meeting.
Having not been at the last meeting.
Well, and I know Dee and Marla really haven't seen my December 29th minutes and haven't had a chance, only because I wrote them at 3:00 this afternoon.
I'm like, did he forget the email?
And Russ didn't have his last minute, so why don't we put them all in the next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I would
sounds good.
suggest, let's do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
He
you for
will
coming.
be here, I promise. You were nice enough to let me go on vacation. Let things slide for a little bit.
Yes, I noticed.
I know you were upset with me, I saw that email. Followed by a yes.
No, I'm not upset. Yeah, you're still laughing.
All right, do we have stuff to sign?
We have no motions for payments. This, I think you signed last time, it's a $32 abatement, and
Oh, yeah,
at some point, I don't know what happened to it, but
Threw it
would you
away.
sign it, please?
I think it's in a folder on my desk. I'm honest,
that's the trouble when you go on vacation, man, you gotta, yeah.
It's fine
You
until you
think
come
you can
back.
trust someone who's stealing your abatement?
Yeah,
well,
that's
you gave them back to me, and I think you included that one of the ones you
One
gave
moment
back
your
to me.
abatement's safe, next
So my question is, if we think it's on the desk, how do we make sure that it doesn't happen twice?
it won't.
It won't, because we
You
will.
can
We have
trust
good
me on that.
employees, that's why.
Geez, David,
I
you're
promise.
tough. Golly.
I mean, yes,
Heaven forbid if it's $32 twice.
you know.
Yeah, heaven forbid.
Actually, Karen wouldn't let me because she would come back.
Ah,
And-
fair.
Yeah.
That's
Checks
called
and balances
checks
are a
and
wonderful
balances.
thing.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and when you balance something.
Yes,
Ah, we're doing that now.
yes. That's wonderful.
So I would like to ask the board for a non-public session under RSA 91A32A.
In which,
That's personnel.
Personnel.
all right. I would move that we enter into non-public session at 8:12 for personnel.
Great.
All in favor?
Ah,
Aye.
Say the spiel.
All right. and
personnel it out there.
For the purposes of everybody else and including our
Be
recording.
careful on those stairs,
Thank you.
Yeah, those stairs.
those painted
We will
steps.
immediately adjourn following the non-public session, so there will be nothing
Bye,
to
thanks.
resume.
I know, those stairs are